I want to welcome you to the Pro Mindset Podcast. The Pro Mindset Podcast is all about diving into the headspace that results in championship performance. High-performing athletes, winners, have this mental flow and have a positive headspace for their performances and success. Join me, Craig Domann, sports attorney and NFL agent, on this podcast. I will interview pro athletes, college athletes, football coaches, and sports personalities. Together, we can discover how you can get in the flow and have your own pro mindset.
Have any questions before we get started?
No, it's a Pro Mindset Podcast. I'm ready to go.
Okay, man, my man. I want to welcome today a very special guest, a four-time Olympian, seven-time U.S. champion, and number one in the world multiple years, Hunter Kemper, triathlete. And Hunter, before I ask you any questions, I just got to put your career in perspective. You had a 16-year pro career at a minimum to participate in 4 Olympics.
That's right. That's a long career. It means I'm old. That's exactly right. Yes. So, what's the secret behind your success? Your family, share with the audience a little bit of your personal background. Absolutely. So I grew up in Central Florida, Orlando, Florida. Thanks for having me on, Craig. I appreciate it. I'm excited to be a part of this podcast and love what you're doing. I'm a Central Florida kid. Grew up in Orlando, Florida. Did all sports, as probably many the people that you have on. Played every sport imaginable when I was a kid. Swimming was one of them, along with tennis and soccer and baseball and basketball and all those other sports. But swimming was one. Started swimming when I was 6 years old, and then 2 swimming friends of mine got me started in triathlon at the age of 10. I did my very first race. A little town in Claremont, Florida, a little north of Orlando, and I won it. I was the fastest 10-year-old, beat all the other 10-year-olds that day, Craig, but there was only 3 of us total, so we were all on the podium that day.
Oh, my goodness.
It was a sport that apparently no one was doing, and I was the best of 3 and loved it. It took me 17 minutes to do. My first race was a 100-yard swim, a 3-mile bike ride, and a half-mile run. That was it, 17 minutes. Won my very first race. Went on to the national championships later on that year in 1986 when I was 10, and I won it. It was in Tampa Bay. It was in Busch Gardens at the park there, and I was a national champion at the age of 10 in the sport of triathlon. There were only 9 kids that raced at the nationals, so I was getting better, I assume, and just found success early on. Still doing other sports, but have my parents' support all along the way. I have an older sister who wasn't into sports. And like myself, so I was kind of an only child when it came to focusing on your kid doing sports. It was good for me. I got all their attention on that side of things, and they fostered that relationship, and they've been my greatest supporters all along my journey throughout my entire career. Okay,
Hunter. So most athletes have to prepare for one sport, and there's also within those sports multi-dimensions, there's offense, defense, things of that nature.
Right.
In baseball, you got to be a good hitter, but you also have to be a good outfielder, a good, defensive player. You were in 3 different sports that made up one sport. And so I cycle. I don't run anymore, and I've never been a good swimmer. How did you allocate your time, and how did you, reset your hard drive in terms of your mind on how you attacked each of those different sports? Because it's probably reasonable to guess that you weren't equally talented in all 3.
That's absolutely. You're exactly right. It's a constant juggling act in my sport of triathlon. And to give you some background, it's swim, bike, run, like you've mentioned. But I swim a mile or 1.5 kilometers in the Olympic distance, just under a mile in the swim. I bike 40 kilometers or 24.8 miles, just under 25 miles of cycling, and then I run a 10K, 6.2 miles. That's the Olympic distance, and it's about an hour and 45 minutes for me to do at the highest level, at the world championship level. And so you're exactly right in saying that they're not always aligned as far as the level that I'm at in each sport and my natural ability in each sport. To give an example, I grew up, like I said, as a swimmer. I had swim background, so my swimming was really good as a kid. It's been good all throughout my professional career. Cycling came pretty easy to me early on as a kid and growing up through high school. I was a pretty good cyclist, but I wasn't a very good runner. I was an average runner. I mean, I was good. I ran cross country and track in high school. But as I was applying to schools, and I actually chose to go to university, to college, to work on my weakness, because my goal was to be a professional triathlete. So I had already thought about long term what I wanted to do with my career, and I wanted to be a professional triathlete. Triathlon was not in the Olympic Games at the time in 1994 when I was applying to colleges. So I wanted to work on my weakness, which is my run. I wanted to get that better. So I was applying to schools, looking at schools, and Wake Forest, my dad got the mail one day when I was a senior in high school, and he had a big smile on his face, and he's like, "Hey, you got some mail?" And I'm like, "Oh, really? You know, what's the deal with the, your big smirk that you have going on right now?" So I get the mail. He hands it to me. I see that Wake Forest University in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, sent me the women's media guide. They thought Hunter Kemper was a female runner, which is a tough place to be. My dad hands me the phone and is like, "Hey, you've got a phone call to make. They think your times are girl level, not the boys. That's not good." So I had to make a phone call and say, "Hey, listen, I'm not a girl, I'm a guy," to the Wake Forest men's track team, and I had to walk on. So I walked on to university there and spent 4 years working on my weakness in my sport of triathlon. And when I exited there in 1998, it became my strength. The running discipline became what I was best at. But throughout my career, to go back and answer fully your question, is that you're constantly juggling the three sports. Maybe your running's going really well, but your swimming's a little bit off, so you kind of have to put a little bit more time into your swim. And time management in my sport is so crucial because, again, I'm probably training about 5 to 6 hours a day, not including all the recovery stuff, whether it be massage, sports psychology, nutrition, all these other things that I'm doing, strength training. I'm not including that in that 5 to 6 hours a day. It's about a 30-hour work week. So you're constantly juggling, just in training, juggling the different sports and where you need to pay more attention, waiting to put more emphasis into strengthening your bike, working on your run speed, all these different things. So I like that, though. I like the fact that it was a recipe, trying to create something in three sports in that variety, because you never got burned out of one. And for me, I always felt fresh mentally with all three disciplines, and it just gave me something to focus on each day, to know that, hey, this week we're maybe going to dial in this a little bit better. So I enjoyed the back and forth and the up and down of trying to get all three sports to be at their best at the highest level of racing when I go to the Olympic Games or the World Championships.
That's fantastic. Okay, let's talk about 2 points in time. What was the deepest of the deep valleys you found yourself in, and how did you crawl out of it? And the second one is, what was the highest mountaintop experience you had, and how did you get there, and what did that feel like?
Yeah, great questions. I mean, in sports, when you race for 20 years, 1998 is when I started my professional career, right out of college, and all the way through retiring last year in 2018, 20 years of professional racing. You're going to have a lot of peaks and valleys. You know, I've had some valleys, but I would say the biggest one I had a bike accident in 2011, Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. I fell on my bike. I crashed. It wasn't to any fault of my own. There was a competitor coming out of the swim really far behind. I was already on the bike. We were coming through, lapping that competitor, and he collided with me, and it was just a really bad accident going down this hill. He was okay. I wasn't so much. I had broken my elbow, my left elbow, and shattered it pretty bad. Didn't know the extent at the time. Came back here from South Carolina to Colorado Springs. We had the surgery. This is right before Christmas of 2011, and Christmas 2011, right before 2012. And we had the surgery, and things were going well. Had some complications about 2 months later. Had staph infection in my arm to where I couldn't move it anymore. It got really serious. Had to rush back up to Vail to get some other additional surgeries to get it all cleaned out, to get the infection cleaned out. Can get really bad if the infection goes spread throughout the body. It can be very, very dangerous. They were able to isolate it, get it flushed out, get it cleaned out. had about 6 surgeries total on my left elbow, and I was trying to qualify for the London Olympics in 2012 to be my 4th Olympic Games. And I was on my couch Christmas Day after recovering from all those surgeries and still trying to figure it out, and just realizing how did I get here? I mean, how to no fault of my own, something that I couldn't control that left me on my couch and basically not having a chance to qualify for my next Olympics. And I felt like I used my strength and my love for the Lord and my relationship with God to just pray a lot. I was in the Word a lot and just reading my Bible in a place to where I was like, listen, God, I continue to try sometimes to do this on my own, but I can't get anywhere now at this point in time in my career without you and without you interjecting into my life here and fixing some things in my heart and everything. And so I felt like the next 3 months was a great place for me, both spiritually and mentally. I was able to get to the start line by the grace of God and all the strength that He had given me and getting over that injury to the start line in San Diego, California. It was the Olympic trials, Mother's Day weekend. My family was out there. No one was talking about me. I was trying to be the 4-time Olympian, 36 years old. I had definitely passed my prime. And I was the last athlete called out to the start line. There were 75 guys on the start line. I had to finish top 9 in the race in order to qualify for my 4th Olympics, or else I wouldn't go. And I was the top American at that event in San Diego. I finished 5th overall, and it was an amazing experience. So I think that my answer, I mean, maybe both questions really. I mean, the valley was the crash in that place and having the 5 surgeries and that mountaintop and never thinking that maybe are you going to do sport again? Are you going to actually make it back to even compete at anything, let alone at the Olympic level? And to make it back and to have my family there with me was a truly amazing and overwhelming experience for me and something that I'll never forget.
A lot of times when an athlete has some pretty serious adversity, the mountaintop experience is right after that. If they respond appropriately and if they, fight through it, and in many cases for faith-minded people, it comes from that. The motivation comes from the Word. It comes from the messages the Lord gives you through your prayer time and meditation. What was the number one message the Lord gave you during that time that inspired you to persevere and come back?
I think trust in Him. That was the number one thing for me. I mean, I mean, sometimes I feel like as athletes we can continue to kind of get sideways in because whether it's be by the people and the external factors out and around us and saying that how good we are. We get on posters, people get on billboards, you get on signs. I was on a Wheaties box, at one time in 06, 07 for a while. You get these things and you think, oh, look at me. And I think the humbling my heart to know that, I wouldn't be here without you. You've given me these gifts and abilities, and just trusting in Him. That was my biggest thing, and that, I felt so at peace to know that I have to turn it all over, and it was a place that I can't take the wheel anymore, so to speak, and drive this bus. I have to be fully reliant on you in all that I do. And I was throughout my career, but it gets sideways sometimes for me. When you win big races and you get big checks and sponsors support you, you think that it's through you and through you and what you've been able to do and not giving the focus and attention to put on Him. And so I think just trusting the Lord and that process, keep on going back to Him, having a child's-like heart to turn to Him and say, I don't have all the answers. And I need your help along this way and along this journey. And I think it's a good lesson for all of us in any walk of life that we're in, any valley that we're in, to trust in Him, whether you're in transition in your life, going from outside of sport, whatever it is. I think trusting in Him and knowing that it's not for our glory and for our own attention is where most of us should be.
Amen. Okay, well, this is out of your sport, but there's a pretty successful coach by the name of Bill Belichick that has said that, quote unquote, every battle is won before the battle is fought. What does that mean to you? Every battle is won before the battle is fought.
To me, that means every battle is won before the battle is fought means preparation. That's what I feel like it means. That's the word that comes to mind is preparation. How do you prepare for your race? What goes into being the best in the world? And for me, there's a lot. There's a lot of behind the scenes that that goes into it, right? It's sleep. It's the ability to get good sleep in the lead up before a big race or before a big event. Eliminating all the distractions, right? Cutting out all the extra distractions around you and maybe within your circle, and having your circle of people, your friends, your family, whoever is in that circle, helping you eliminate those distractions. Whether you're going to play a football game or whether I'm going to go and try to race at the Olympic Games in London, I need to try to eliminate those distractions around me in the lead up and the preparation and the months lead up to the big game, whether it be the Super Bowl or whether it be the big race for me in the Olympic Games. So I think it's all about preparation, and I think it's mental preparation is probably the biggest key, right, is getting your mind right, getting that belief system and getting you to believe in yourself. Like, it's ultimately, if you don't think that you're going to go out there and win that competition, or you're going to go out there and win the Super Bowl, if you're going to go out and win the World Series, if you don't believe you can win that game, no one else is going to believe in you that you can do it. So it has to come from a strong belief from within in yourself.
Gotcha. Well, there's no question that Belichick's had his teams be prepared, and he does so much situational football that they're prepared for things that happen only once a year. But when they show up, his team is typically successful in those situations. And so when you talk about preparation and belief, and that was one of the things you hit on as well, when you look at yourself, like from my perspective as an agent, if a player doesn't believe in himself, it shows up in his energy, his body language, all these nonverbal cues.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody else knows it. The coaches know it. The competitors know it. Everybody knows it. And so I've always felt that, and I've seen when players believe in themselves 100%, even maybe when they shouldn't, maybe when their talent doesn't even merit them believing in themselves 100%, when they do believe in themselves 100%, they get better results. So my question to you is, when you competed on a scale of 1 to 100, 100 being 100%, what percent did you believe in yourself most of the time? And more importantly, when you didn't, you were at 98. What did you do to close the gap before you showed up on race day?
Yeah, I would say my percent's probably, 95, 98% that I believed in myself. And my belief in myself came solely, again, back to the word preparation. It came from workouts. It came from all the things I did before the actual event. I knew that if I hit certain times, if I did the work, if I put it in, that I was going to get the result because I had seen it time and time again before. It was a recipe that if I was working hard and putting forth all the things that I knew that I could do and hitting certain times in my swim, my bike, and my run, the results were taking care of themselves because I was super fit. I was engaged and I was dialed in. And so for me, it comes back to that preparation. That's where the belief comes from great workouts that I had in the lead up, right? Maybe it's the great practices you have in the lead up, all the scenarios that you go through. And when I didn't believe in myself, and I'll give you an example. I went to the World Championships in 2005. I was world ranked number 1, best in the world going in, number 1 on my arm, kind of going in. I was the top guy at the World Championships in 2005. I come to the race. I had it was in Japan. We're in Japan. Had a difficult thing with the time change. I a little bit of jet lag going in. The race morning, struggling. The whole rest of the day, the entire race was just a battle with myself, with my body, to get the most out of it I could. Had a horrific race. Finished 42nd. I was in a sprint finish for 42nd place, and it was a humbling experience. It was the worst race of probably my career, but definitely of that year. I was number 1 ranked in the world going in. And
Hunter, you were number 1 in the world, and you finished 42nd.
I finished 42nd, and I walk away, and my wife is there, and there's another huge race the next weekend in China, in Beijing, China. There's a race the next weekend, and I tell my wife, I say, I want to go home. I'm out. I feel like my training's off. I'm not dialed in anymore. I think my season's gotten too long. It's to the end of the season. We're in September. I think I need a break. She's like, are you serious? Like, you can't be serious, right? I'm like, no. Did you see my race? She's like, well, that wasn't you. There was other external factors that were going on. That's not, you're number 1. You're the best athlete here on this day. You finished 40 seconds. That wasn't you. We're going to go back and show them who you are the next weekend in Beijing. I'm like, I don't know, babe. I don't know if I can do this. So in the hotel room, she was acting as my sports psychologist the whole time, getting me recharged and saying, listen, That's not who you are. You're the number one guy. You're not the 42nd guy in the world. You're the best in the world. So we go to there in Beijing the next weekend. It's the first chance we get to have a look at the Olympic course, because the Olympic Games are going to come to Beijing in 2008. And so it was our first chance. Come to that race. Things are feeling good. Go to the events. Show up. And number one, I was one of the top 2 out of the water, first off the bike with about 10 other guys, and had the fastest run of the day, won the race. And 6 days after I just finished 42nd, I was winning another. All the same guys are there. They're all there. It's just it was now the Beijing World Cup versus the World Championships the weekend before in Japan. And so I think for me in saying that is that you got to surround yourself with people around you that believe in you as much as you do in yourself, if not more, that they have as much. So when you're down and you're having those tough days or having those tough, difficult races and coming off of that they can boost you right back up, fill your tank up to get you at the 100% again, to say, hey, listen, you are great. Here's all the reasons of why you're great. You might not see it now because you're looking at that one recent result, but you're really, really good, and here's why. I think having the people around you that also believe in you is so, so crucial in that support system. And it's why my career had the length and the long standing that it did in that 20 years. It's because I had people around me that believed in me when I had those difficult valleys that I was going through.
Well, I think something that your wife, Valerie, did that players have to do themselves if they don't have people around them that can help them do it is you have to divorce yourself from a bad performance. And you have to divorce yourself from that identity and almost reset your hard drive on, hey, this is who I am. That's not who I am. Because if you look at any elite athlete like you have been in any sport, they have off days. And the margin is so small. So when you finish 42nd compared to the gentleman that finished first in Japan, it wasn't 25 minutes.
No, it was 90 seconds. 90
seconds.
Yep.
So that's 30 seconds per event.
That's it.
Right? And so you were 30 seconds off. And so it's really breaking it down to, hey, I'm not that far off, and that's not who I am, and getting back to who you really want to be and who you are.
I agree. I mean, I think divorcing yourself from results is definitely a secret to success and longevity. You're exactly right. I mean, one race doesn't define you, good or bad. You can get overinflated and think that that's who you are, and then not have to prepare the way you've been if you focus on the amazing result that you've had. Right? It's maybe that Super Bowl hangover or whatever it is. All of a sudden thinking, hey, you're not humble anymore. You're not hungry anymore. You're like, hey, I've had this success. Do I want it again? That was me. And then all of a sudden you're, well, whoa, these guys also want it too. I mean, the hardest part about being the best in the world is staying there. Is once you get, I mean, the rise is the fun part. The ride to get there is the fun part. It's when everyone's slinging arrows at you when you're on top of the podium is the difficult place to be. And so, like you say, I mean, I agree with you. I think removing yourself from a bad result, saying that's not who I am, this is who I am, and getting your mind right before the next competition is crucial, or the next game or whatever it is crucial. You have to be in the moment. And I feel like my sports psychologist did a great job in preparing me for that. And that while you're competing, while you're in the game, right? You're in this game, you're in this competition, you're in this race. Just because my first event in the swim went bad has no bearing on what's going to happen in my bike and my run. Means nothing. Because my swim was a little bit off, I get to do two other disciplines that have nothing to do with one another. They're totally separate. Just because you have a bad first quarter or a horrible first 2 innings of pitching, that means nothing. You get a full reset the next inning about how you're going to come out and approach and your body language and how you're going to attack the next part of the race for me. So I think for me, my sports psychologist would always say to be mindful. It's this idea of mindfulness, this meditation, this idea of focusing on the process, being in the moment, focusing for me on my swim stroke, right, my kicking, my stroke, not the result of what position I'm in, but the actual process of moving through the water faster. How can I cycle better, right? How can I work on my pedal stroke to work on the down push as well as the upstroke and the pedaling? How can I move down the road quicker, not thinking about, oh, I'm really tired or I'm not feeling very well right now. How do I focus on my run? All these different things about how to make yourself better, your mechanics of doing it well, a pitching mechanic, someone a quarterback, a running back, whatever it is, focusing on your job, your specific task in that one play, and for me in the race for the next mile of running, as opposed to having your mind wander and getting too far ahead of itself. That being mindful and in the moment is so key to having great races, because then you're always engaged. You're never letting your mind kind of, drift off and and when it drifts, it gets negative. It gets like, I'm not doing this right, I'm not doing this right, as opposed to bringing it back. And it's okay if it goes there, because our mind is going to go there, but you have to be aware that it's gone there and saying, hey, I caught you. I see what you're saying to me. You're trying to get me to, I'm going to bring you, we're going to bring back, and we're going to focus on my process of moving down the road faster, of throwing the ball harder, whatever it is and whatever your sport is. So that mindfulness was a big part of my career and that process goal within the race itself.
Well, I couldn't have said it any better than you did. What you talked about right there was when athletes stop thinking about the next play or process they're in at the moment, their negative voice comes out and says, hey, if you're leading, the guy behind you is going to catch you. If you're in 10th place, it's coming out and saying, hey, you can't catch him. It
Yep.
all goes negative. But if you're focusing, it does. And so I think the biggest competition that an athlete has in any race, and it doesn't matter the sport, is that negative voice that comes out that is their own voice that knows them better than anybody else, that says, hey, your quad's burning, your whatever it is.
Yep.
You got this little side pain, whatever. And so every athlete needs to have conscious awareness that their biggest opponent, that is their negative inner voice. And the way to beat it is to number one, shut it up. And number two, focus on what you're doing right now, because then you can't think about what could happen later.
Absolutely. And also the way to beat it too is, Craig, is to practice with it. To practice with that self-talk that you have with yourself in practice. To say, hey, you can't, on game day, you might not be able to shut off that voice if you're not actually learning how to control it and to be in the moment. If you're not used to practicing that, so you got to prepare for that as well. You got to prepare the mind as much as you do the physical, your physical abilities as well. So the preparation for the mental side is just as important in that situation, in my opinion.
No doubt. Well, one of the things that you talked about a little bit earlier was the importance of training and hitting your marks so that you could have predictable results on race day. And what never fails to surprise me is when I talk to athletes and they can't understand why they can't do something in the game or in the race, and that they thought they should. And I will ask them, did you do it in practice? Oh, no. So what happens is what athletes fail to remember is that what you do in practice, what you do in training, is what you're capable of doing in the race or in the game. And if you, like for example, if you're a DB and you're dropping interceptions in practice that week and you get in a game and you drop the pick that could have won the game, you shouldn't be shocked because that's what you did in practice.
100%. I mean, how you practice is how you play. What happens the weeks before is what you're going to get out of it. And especially in my sport, it's really in your face with the numbers and with the data and with what you do in practice, right? If I'm running times and I'm running my mile repeats here at altitude, and I'm running say 6 by 1 mile repeats with a certain maybe a minute and a half rest, and I'm running maybe 4:40 or 4:30 per mile pace up here, 4:30 mile pace, 4:30s, and then I rest a minute and a half and do it again. I can't expect myself, if I'm doing that in practice, I can't expect myself to go fast or much faster than that in the race if I can barely do it in practice, right? So, I mean, you have to know, all of a sudden I can't be a 4-minute miler and run that for 6 miles if I've never done that in practice. I can't be like, oh, well, I should have run faster. Well, what did you do in practice? Well, I did kind of what I showed on race day. Well, there you go. So that's why the data for me is so crucial, the preparation and what you do, getting that, and almost to a fault, to where I would almost rely too much on that, because sometimes you can win races for me other ways. If you don't have it all in the goods, you can win it with the mind, right? You can fake it. I'll give you an example. Whereas say my running's not going that well, and I come off the bike with 10 other athletes because we can draft in the race. We can draft on the bike. So we come off with 10 guys. We're going to run a 10K. And so everyone knows I'm the best runner with the 10 guys, but I'm not feeling that day. My weekend training hasn't gone that well, but I take it out really fast, right? The first mile, I'm going harder than I should be going, even when I'm going well, but definitely over the top. And my whole goal is to get the other 9 athletes in that group to be like, wow, Hunter's got it today. Look, he's the best runner in the field. We know that. And he's pulling away in the first mile. I'm going to start looking around already for second. When I'm thinking, man, I don't have it today, I'm just trying to fake it till I make it to the finish line and seeing if these guys buy in. And sure enough, a lot of times I can get there. And it's happened to me too. So I've won races like that. And then I've also been in a race where I've come to a sprint finish with a guy that's been, Olympic champion or whatever in Canada, a guy named Simon Whitfield. We're coming up this hill in his home country in Canada. We're in Nova Scotia area, east part of Canada. We're coming this hill with about 300 meters to go, and I'm all out. We're sprinting. We're both going to the line. We're like neck and neck, side by side. And my legs are screaming. My mind's saying, you cannot do this any longer. You're just going to pass out. And I go, and I end up backing off. He ended up taking the lead after about 2 seconds. And after the race, I hear in an interview, I hear him talking just, in the corral afterwards saying, man, I thought I was done. I was so over the top. I was so over my end I couldn't go any faster, and I was hurting so bad. And what made me so mad was I needed to put myself in that situation in his mind to say, listen, if I'm hurting this bad, so is he, so I can go that little extra bit harder to realize that he's suffering too. And I didn't put myself there, and he was able to win the race and get me. So, I mean, even when you don't have it in practice, you better start doing other things, like you say, that body language, that other things, that self-talk to yourself to say, hey, listen, we're going to figure it out today in other ways because maybe I haven't had the best week of training.
Well, what's interesting about what you just said was there's some gamesmanship, and you all the top people in the world know each other. You guys are meeting on all different continents and racing
100%.
and competing, right? And
Traveling
so you
circus,
get to know, it's a traveling circus.
Yeah.
And you get to know their personalities, their preferences, their comfort zones, and their strategies. And you can play mental games with your competitors to give them something else to think about.
Yes.
That they weren't expecting to think about in that competition. Whether it's you taking off like a rabbit at the beginning of the run to throw them off.
Yes.
And then hold on for dear life so that and hope they don't catch it.
100%.
And because athletes beat themselves more often than the competition does, you sometimes can get your competition to shut down. And that's what you alluded to. I mean, in football's called kill the will. By halftime, you want to kill the will. So the guys are just going through the motions so they don't look bad, but they really aren't. Their willpower's gone because they know they can't beat you because you've shown them dominance in the first half. So in the second half, you have your way.
100%. Yep. I totally agree with that. Absolutely.
And you only have to be 1% better to show dominance. It's like just consistent. Be 1% better than the competition.
Absolutely. And when you do it, they don't try. You have it. It's done. When you break their will and you break their mind, it's totally done. I mean, it's, your attitude. I always tell my son, and this is a little bit of an offshoot, but I always tell my son, there's 2 things you can control, right? There's 2 things that you get to control out there in practice. He's 12 years old. He's playing basketball. He's playing baseball. He's doing volleyball. He does some triathlons. He does different things, all the different sports. But he's a pretty talented kid, and I'm like, listen, there's things that you can control and things you can't control. And the things you can, there's 2 of them. Your attitude, how you go out there and approach the race, how you go out there and talk to others around your teammates, your attitude, and your effort. How much you can put forth, how much you're going to get to practice that day. Are you going to be the one doing suicides halfway? Or are you going to be showing that effort all the time where the coaches, someone notices and says, wow, Davis, you're doing something different. That's what separates, I think, the best in the world from the also-rans, the ones that just kind of finish with everybody else, right? To get the number 1 in the world, to get to the Olympic Games, to win medals in the World Championships, to be the best, it's all about your effort and what you put in. That effort that you put forth, you get to control that. That's up to you. It's body language. It's how you approach life. And so for me and my kids, I'm like, listen, you got to control the things you can't. You can't control what people think about you, what they say about you. You can't do that. You just got to be you, So, attitude and effort. That's my thing. I feel like it's big. It's part of life.
Well, two things in response to that, Hunter, is that it takes no talent to give effort. No talent. It just takes energy, because you can have less talent, and if you give more effort, you can still win.
100%. And isn't that great? That's great. That means everyone's in the game. We're all in the game, because not everyone's born with the skills and talents of LeBron James. We're not all Kevin Durant, right? In basketball or in football, we don't all have the gift of a Tom Brady in the arm, whatever. But I don't know if Tom Brady would actually say that he was the most talented, right? I mean, he was the 6th-round draft pick. But, man, does he work hard. And it's hard for me to say as a Denver Broncos fan. It's hard for me to say, But, I mean, he's relentless in his preparation, relentless. And I always feel like hard work outweighs talent every time. And I wasn't that guy. I was born with a lot of gifts and a lot of talents. But when I went to the labs and I would do my VO2 max and all these things that tell you how good you can be, your VO2 max and your anaerobic threshold and all these data points in tests about what your God-given abilities are, your God-given talent, and mine was pretty high, but it wasn't off the charts. And I would look at it and I would get down on myself. I'd be like, man, if I had a bigger engine, I could be 4-time gold medalist. I don't have any medals from the Olympic Games. I've been 4 times, but I've been world champion, but I don't have a gold medal. I could have done this, whatever. But you know what I was really good at? I outworked everyone. I know I did, because I would be relentless in trying to be the best, because I knew that was what I was good at. I was good at maximizing my result, maximizing what I had, what I was gifted in. I got every ounce out of myself. And that got me to 4 Olympic Games, to be 7-time national, to be the best in the world. Because I was able to outwork people. That's huge. And that should be a confidence booster to anyone listening, to say, listen, with a little bit of talent, you can take it a long, long way.
Amen. And the second thing I was going to say that is all competitors need to know what their confidence supplements are. And different people need different types of supplements to improve their confidence. Some people need, a circle of influence that's, like whether it's a wife or mom and dad, brother, whatever it may be, that family members that build you up when you're not feeling worthy. Everybody's wired differently. Everybody thinks a little bit differently. We're all the same, but we're different.
Right.
And I think it's important, like even as a father with 4 kids, you have 3 boys and a daughter, and, I'm sure they're all going to participate in sports in some fashion.
4 boys and a daughter. 5, yeah. 5.
You have 5 now?
Oh, I got 5 now. Yes, I know. Wow. I know.
Okay.
15 months old. Yeah, a lot. 4 boys and a girl. Yes, go ahead.
Okay,
yep.
So with your 5 children,
yes,
they're all going to be wired a little bit differently, and they're all going to be gifted in their physical talents a little bit differently. And so if you can just help them discover what their passion is for whatever sport it may be, and then understand how they're wired mentally so that you can push the right buttons in terms of encouraging them and giving them confidence, because, unless they're one of those iron-fisted, confident people, they're going to need some boosters from time to time.
100%. 100%. And isn't that part of life? Isn't that our role as parents? That's got to be our number one role, is to be able to give our kids the ability to see the best in themselves. That has to be, that's the biggest challenge that we have. And that you're right, all kids, it's amazing how different your kids are. I mean, you have kids, your 3 kids, like it's different. What you say to one is not going to work with the other. And so you have to know how to speak their language. And it's up to us as parents to understand that. And kids or coaches, it's up to the coaches to understand their own athletes that they have, to what they can say to this athlete's going to only work for them, not maybe for another person or another athlete that they have. So it is. Those confidence supplements is big, and it's hard. It's not easy to figure out. I mean, you got to take some time to learn your player, learn who you're coaching, learn who your child is, in order to how to talk to them and speak their language and how they're wired to get the most out of them. And I feel like that's my biggest kind of like fear in life, is that I won't get that, be able to give that to my kids, to be able to allow them to get to see their passion, get to have them get the most out of themselves. I mean, so it's, as parents, we got to be constantly learning and constantly educating ourselves about how we can talk to our kids in ways to give them the confidence they need to be the best at whatever it is they do, whatever it is they want to do.
Well, you said so many things there, but I got to share a funny story. My daughter was about 12 years old, and she was playing soccer, and she was a goalkeeper, and when the ball was on the other side of the field, she was singing. And so one day, and she didn't act like she was engaged in the game. She wasn't really paying attention to the competition. You know, as a dad, you're sitting there going, man, she's got to pay attention. She's got to be focused.
Yeah.
And so after one of the games, I said, hey, baby, do you like soccer? And she says, oh, no. And I said, why do you play? And says, because you and Mom want me to. And I said, well, let's do something else. And so that's why she's chasing an acting career in L.A., because she got into the arts, and she loves to sing and dance and act.
That's
and so
awesome.
we missed the boat for at least 2 or 3 years, where we were having her play just because all our friends were playing. And so what I would encourage, you know, all moms and dads out there to do is to give your kids the freedom to be different than your other kids.
Yes.
Because the first kid kind of sets the bar.
Yes.
And sometimes little Johnny, son number 3, doesn't want to compete with his big brother. He wants to do something else.
Right. Absolutely. I agree with that 100%. And when you say you missed the boat with your daughter, I would say the opposite. I say you actually you got the boat. You found it out. You were not too late, but you were just on time, because maybe you didn't. What if you didn't ever ask that question? What if you didn't ever go to her and say, hey, do you really like soccer? What if you kept on force feeding the sports because that's all you knew? That would be missing the boat. So I would say that you didn't miss the boat, and she's exactly where she needs to be.
Well said. Well said. Okay, for those listeners that may not pay attention to the Olympics except for every 4 years, every 2 years.
Right.
Help them understand, like in the NFL, you know, there's a cycle. It's a 1-year cycle. You go through off season, you go through free agency, the draft, OTAs, training camp, the season, so on and so forth. But when you're an Olympian, you're going to world championships and you've got certain events you're getting ready for, but you kind of fall off the map for 3 years. And so what is it like the month after the Olympics when you start thinking about the next one that's 3 years and 11 months away?
Yeah, so I would say just after the Olympic Games, what does that look like? You know, it's a pretty hard fall, to be honest with you. You ride this roller coaster, like you said, every cycle, every 4 years, and we're off the map of the world as far as the eyes. I mean, we do have big races. Every year is a new year. It's a new world championships every year. There's huge events around the country in the sport of triathlon every year. So we can still make our living and get sponsor support and have endorsements and all of that. But as far as the Olympic cycle, when you come off the Olympic Games, it's a total reevaluation. It's a pretty big valley that you come from, because you're on this roller coaster of like an amazing thing that you're representing Team USA, you're walking to opening ceremonies, and then you have to come down off of that after maybe 08 and then to 09. After Beijing, you come down in 2009. Okay, now we got 4 years before London. So you have to be very long-term focused to be like, okay, what do I need to get better in order to be a gold medalist in London? What do I need to improve upon? So it's a real deep dive reflection upon your training about how you can be better and overall assessment 4 years down the road. So it's a long-term approach. You play the long game. You look at the long-term goals of what you can do to improve 4 years from now. A year out, and I would say it's 2 years for us. I mean, I would put it almost 24 months. You're starting to get ramped up because, like you said, there's a pecking order. There's all these points that you have to get, international points, international races to get your world ranking high enough just so you can get in. You've got to qualify for the trials before you even make it to the Olympic Games. And only in our sport, only 3 men and 3 women max make the Olympics. So it's only three people in the whole country for the men and women make the team. So you have to make sure that you're part of the group, the pool of 10 or 12. Maybe there's only 9 athletes that get a chance to make it into the trials. You've got to make the certain cut, the qualification standards, and that usually is based upon world ranking. And so that starts about 24 months out, that you're already starting to think, okay, I have to be all in on trying to figure out how do I qualify for trials, and then how do I get myself ramped up for the Olympic Games. And there are 2 different races. So you've got to be peaked to the trial. Say that happens in April of the Olympic year in 2020 in Tokyo next year, where the Olympic Games are going to be. Our men's Olympic trials for triathlon or women's could be in Japan somewhere next year, right? It's in May. So you got to be ramped up for that. You got to have a big race there, have your highest race, your best race there, your A race. Then you got to come down off of that and then race at the end of July and early August for the Olympic Games in Tokyo next year. So you've got to prepare and think about so many different things. So it's an exciting time. I mean, the Olympic Games, endorsements come more, they're heavier, and it's what we live for. There's nothing greater than going to a sporting event, knowing, and it's just exciting. Talk about the mental buildup. Every 4 years, I mean, if you get it wrong on race day, there's no do-over. You don't get like, oh, I'll get them next weekend at that next football game. You know, oh, we have 16 games. Well, every game's important, but the next one, we got another chance. This is it. There's no more do-overs after the Olympic Games on that year. You got 4 years to sit on that race. So there's so much buildup. And for some athletes, it's one dive. It's 3 seconds, 2 seconds. It's 100 meters. Mine's at least an hour and 45 minutes. But I don't have a prelim and finals. Mine's just one shot, one race. You wake up that morning and say, here we go, Lord. This is it. What do you have for me today? We're gonna go and do this and knock it out of the park. I love the Olympic Games. I love just the mindset that people have to have in order to be an Olympic champion. It's some of the greatest athletes in the world, and they get to showcase it every 4 years or every 2 years, like we say. Winter Games and Summer Games now offset. So
you've got, I've been to a handful of Olympics, and you've got the Olympic Village where all the athletes hang out, and everybody's got a different schedule for what they're doing. How do you focus when you probably come in a week to 2 weeks before your event? Tell us your pre-race routine, maybe a week out, so that you can maximize your performance on race day.
On race day, yeah. For me, the Olympic Games, there is so much other extracurricular stuff going on. Media credentials, people want interviews, all these different things happening. And in the Village, there's a lot happening, right? And especially, what if your event's late? What if you're like the 12th day of the 16-day games, the fortnight? What if you're the 12th day? Some athletes are done on days 7 and 8. So now all of a sudden the Olympic Village, the second week becomes a big party. How do you focus? How do you get your rest in that situation? For me, I tend to remove myself. We don't always have to stay in the Village. I typically always choose to stay in the Village afterwards, after race day. That's when it's fun, right? When you're not having to compete anymore. If you're a team and you're a soccer team, maybe you have to be in the Village, and that's just, you got to go about your routine, and here it is, whatever. But for me, I wanted to get maybe better sleep, so I would stay off-site. We would be allowed to do that. We come in for a couple nights around the Olympic opening ceremony. It's the best part of the games. It's amazing to get to walk with other athletes, other amazing athletes, and represent Team USA at the opening ceremony. It's an amazing experience. It's the highlight. If you don't win a medal, it's as good as it gets to be able to represent your country on the Olympic stage. But the week before is really just about is trusting the preparation that you did before. You can't win the race the week before, but you can definitely lose it. You can do too much. You can overtrain. So there's an ability that you have to be able to say, listen, I'm going to reduce my training volume by 50%, right? I mean, I'm barely, because you got to freshen up. You got to feel like that you're coming out of your skin on race day. And so, but the intensity stays high. So I would do short little efforts, short stuff. So I'm keeping the intensity workouts high, but the duration is not as long. So I'm not getting as tired. And then you got to get the mind right. You got to quiet. That's when the negative self-talk comes in, because you're having all this doubt that, I'm not doing enough right now. The last 5 days, I'm resting too much. My legs I'm putting my legs up too much. I'm getting too many massages. I'm relaxing too much. I'm eating too much. Am I gaining weight? All the self-doubt comes in because you're thinking as an athlete, as a triathlete, you're constantly training. And we live in a cycle almost of being overtrained. And so for me, it's about really being strong mentally and saying, listen, I got to trust what I did in the preparations and the weeks up. This last week, I can't win this race here. I can win it mentally on the mental side, but I can definitely lose it if I overtrain myself going into that last 6 days, 7 days of before race day.
Okay, so you woke up this morning, and today's race day, and it's the Olympics. What is it like? What time is the race typically?
Typically a later morning start, so maybe like a 10 o'clock.
Okay.
I would say.
So walk us
11
through
o'clock.
Game day, mostly from the mental standpoint. What was it like so that you could put yourself in the right frame of mind to go spend an hour and 45 minutes and put yourself in a position to potentially get on the podium?
I mean, I think it starts 2 days out. I mean, I'm eating right. I'm eating all the right things. I'm bringing foods with me. If I don't feel like I have that in a foreign country, right? If I'm in Rio or if I'm in a place where I can't get the right foods, I'm bringing a lot of the supplements with me that I might prepare on my own. Whether that's rice or chicken or whatever it is, I go out and find the right places. I get the right sleep the last day leading up to it. I'm making sure that the 2 nights before, if my race is on a Sunday, say, that Friday night is a real crucial night of sleep. I don't worry about it the night before the race on a Saturday night. If the race is on Sunday, if I don't get good sleep there, I'm okay, because you're going to be anxious anyways. That's all right. It's good. It's if your mind kind of wanders, but you want to watch a movie. Just relax. I mean, the night before the race, I just kind of want to just be with my wife or be with my family, be around at least for a little while. Then have the kids go off with the grandparents, so you can get a decent night of sleep the night before the race. And then race morning, you just get up early. You take a gratitude walk. You go walk around the hotel and kind of shake it out. And you just get up and you say, man, I'm glad and I'm thankful and I'm grateful to be here today, representing my country, representing my family, everything, my Lord and Savior, that I get to go to proclaim him throughout the race. And so I read some scripture. I'll just have some quiet time. I'll get out and do and then the warm-up starts about 2 hours out. I'll start to kind of do like a light kind of bike warm-up, real easy, couple of accelerations, run warm-up the same, and then set my transition up, all of that kind of stuff. But you cut out the noise. You got the headphones on. I'm listening to some Christian music. I mean, you're cutting out all the distractions. But the biggest thing I learned is you got to be on time. Time for things. The biggest stressor for me on race day is being late to, say, setting up my transition or getting into the water for swim warm-up. If I'm late and running around distracted, that gets me anxious. But if I'm just there and have 5 or 10 minutes in between different warm-up sessions to kind of quiet myself again and get into the right frame of mind, that's the best part. That's the best place for me to be. I'm excited. I'm thankful. I'm happy to be here. I can't wait to represent my country. I'm going to do all that I can. I'm going to be in the moment, right? I'm going to be I'm going to smile. I'm going to have that confidence when I walk out, my name is called. I'm going to wave. I'm going to have the confidence and not be fearful, but be excited about the opportunity. That's where I was the 10 minutes before the race. I mean, that was my best place to be. And the most anxious part is right before the race. But it's okay. And that's the thing. You got to know that those nerves are going to come. But it's part of being there. I mean, you're on the world stage representing your country with USA. You're going to be nervous, but you can't let that get you too overwhelmed that you can't go out and perform on race day. In the next half an hour, you can't go. And then the nerves go away right when the gun goes off. You're like, here we go. Let's do this. I miss it. I miss the excitement. I miss race day. I miss I live for trying to be the best when everyone was at their best. I live for that moment of going to a world championships and putting the preparation in and saying, okay, what do I have compared to what you got? Let's see what we got. Let's do it. Let's kind of see what we all have today, how we prepared and how we got this far. And so that was what I live for. I live for trying to be the best and to get the most out of myself on the world's biggest stage when everyone else was trying to.
But Hunter, I want to thank you, and I'm grateful for you being on the show today. And I want to wish you nothing but the best with your family and your children and whatever future endeavors they enter themselves into. And I want to thank you for representing our country in the Olympics on 4 different occasions. And even though you didn't win a medal, you just communicated that you were one of the top 3 in our country every single time. And you're one of the best in the world. You were the best in the world for a couple of years. So you come from a position where you've been at the top of many mountains. And I thank you for your input.
Thanks for having me, Craig. I appreciate it. Love the podcast. Love what you're doing with Pro Mindset, and keep going. I hope it's as successful as it possibly can be, and you reach the stars and the top of the mountain with this. Keep it going. Keep it up.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Pro Mindset. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. 5 stars, of course. You can follow us on our website, ProMindsetPodcast.com, or on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Pro Mindset Podcast. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you the next time.